Why did Tom Cruise stop playing Jack Reacher? Despite ostensibly being one of the biggest movie stars in the world for over 4 decades, Tom Cruise isn't an actor who has dipped his toes into franchise filmmaking all that often. While he has consistently risked his life to play Ethan Hunt in the Mission Impossible franchise and appeared alongside Paul Newman in the brilliant legacy sequel, The Color of Money, Cruise has remained relatively focused on starring in original projects. We don't talk about the Mummy remake. This made it all the more surprising when Cruise signed on to play the title role in the adaptation of Lee Child's One Shot, the first novel in the Jack Reacher series. Considering the significant readership that the novels had, Jack Reacher presented the opportunity for Cruise to have his own gritty action series. Jack Reacher was notable as being the first film that Cruise starred in that was directed by Christopher McQuarrie, the legendary screenwriter who had won an Academy Award for writing The Usual Suspects. While McQuarrie hadn't been behind the camera since the cult classic The Way of the Gun, he had served as a screenwriter on many of Cruise's projects in the 2000s. The relative success of Jack Reacher ensured that Cruise and McQuarrie would be locked in together for the rest of their respective careers, with the latter hired to direct the next 4 installments in the Mission Impossible franchise and served as a producer and co-writer on Top Gun: Maverick. Although he continues to find success, with his incredible stunt work remaining popular, Cruise has all but given up starring in the Jack Reacher franchise. The Jack Reacher franchise crashed and burned, although the first film was a modest hit that surprised many of the skeptical book readers that were concerned about Cruise's size. Jack Reacher: Never Go Back was a hugely disappointing sequel that eroded any goodwill for the franchise. The first film was a relatively restrained neo-noir thriller that only exploded into moments of spectacle when the narrative called for it. Comparatively, Jack Reacher: Never Go Back opted to introduce every known cliché in the action genre, and lacked the well-choreographed fight scenes that made the first film so good. Director Edward Zwick is certainly a talented storyteller with classics like Legends of the Fall and Glory under his belt, but his sensibilities were completely wrong for Jack Reacher: Never Go Back. Jack Reacher: Never Go Back received largely negative reviews and underperformed at the box office, signifying that Paramount Pictures wouldn't be able to garner much enthusiasm for a third entry in the series if it was ever greenlit. While perhaps McQuarrie could have revitalized the franchise had he returned to direct, his work on the Mission Impossible sequels prevented him from spending time on Jack Reacher. Paramount later agreed to develop the Reacher television series for Amazon Studios, which served as a reboot set in an entirely different continuity. Although McQuarrie has hinted that he had ideas about an R-rated threequel that could bring Cruise back, the pair has instead decided to focus their efforts on a new World War II movie co-starring Martian Cotillard and Henry Cavill. Prime Video's Reacher made the film franchise irrelevant. Reacher proved to be a massive hit on Prime Video, becoming one of the streaming network's biggest shows, solidifying Alan Ritchson as the most recognizable version of the character. While the films had to condense the very complex source material into 2 hours, the serialized nature of Reacher allowed it to flesh out the narrative in more depth. It didn't hurt that Ritchson's considerable size and strength was much more in line with the original way the character was written by Child in the novels. Tom Cruise, one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, played the iconic character Jack Reacher in 2 action films based on the best-selling books by British author Lee Child. Despite being a box office success, Cruise's tenure as Reacher came to an abrupt end, much to the surprise of fans. The decision to stop portraying the enigmatic ex-military police officer wasn't due to declining interest in the character or box office flops, but rather stemmed from a confluence of factors, including physical miscasting, creative differences, and a shift in storytelling direction. Physical miscasting. A major issue, perhaps the most public and widely discussed reason for Tom Cruise's departure from the Jack Reacher franchise, is the fundamental issue of physical miscasting. In Lee Child's novels, Jack Reacher is described as a towering, physically imposing man standing 6'5" tall and weighing around 250 pounds. His sheer size and intimidating presence play a critical role in how the character interacts with the world. Reacher's ability to silently threaten, dominate, and deter opponents without lifting a finger is central to his persona. However, Tom Cruise, despite his acting prowess and box office appeal, stands at 5'7", making the difference between the book version of Reacher and the film version hard to ignore for die-hard fans of the series. When Cruise was first cast as Reacher in the 2012 film Jack Reacher, based on Child's novel One Shot, there was immediate controversy. Fans of the books were vocal about their disappointment, feeling that Cruise, though a talented and charismatic actor, didn't physically fit the role. While Cruise did his best to capture Reacher's cool demeanor and dangerous competence, many felt the essence of the character was lost in the casting. Lee Child, while initially supportive of Cruise, acknowledged the fans' concerns. In a 2018 interview, Child admitted that Cruise, despite his impressive commitment to the role, lacked the physicality that made Reacher such an unforgettable character in the books. Child stated that the films needed to reflect Reacher's imposing size, adding, "Ultimately, the readers are right. Creative differences and adaptation challenges." Another factor in Cruise's exit from the Jack Reacher role was the evolution of the storytelling direction for the franchise. The two films in which Cruise starred, Jack Reacher, 2012, and Jack Reacher, Never Go Back, 2016, were both profitable ventures. However, neither achieved the critical or box office heights that might have justified continuing in the same vein. The first film grossed $218 million worldwide, while the second earned $162 million. While respectable, these numbers weren't blockbuster level, and the mixed critical reception of the second film suggested that the cinematic formula might need a rethink. The Jack Reacher novels are known for their cerebral, slow-burn storytelling, interspersed with moments of brutal action. Translating that into a 2-hour action film that pleases both fans of the books and general moviegoers is a tricky task. The novels often rely on internal monologues, Reacher's sharp analytical mind, and the way he silently intimidates others through his sheer physical presence. These elements are hard to convey in a visual medium, especially with an actor who doesn't have the imposing stature described in the books. The cinematic adaptations opted to lean into action sequences and fast-paced plots, which, while entertaining, didn't fully capture the nuanced, introspective character that fans had come to love. As the franchise progressed, it became clear that a different approach was needed to bring Jack Reacher's unique qualities to life on screen. This shift in creative direction aligned with a growing trend towards serialized storytelling in television and streaming platforms, which could better accommodate the intricate plots and slow-burn tension of Child's novels. The rise of streaming and Reacher's future. The decision to stop using Tom Cruise as Jack Reacher coincided with a significant moment in entertainment, the rise of streaming platforms as a dominant force in delivering content. In 2018, it was announced that Jack Reacher would return, but this time in a television series format, with a new actor taking on the role. Amazon Prime Video secured the rights to produce the show, which debuted in 2022 under the title Reacher. The move to television addressed many of the concerns that had plagued the film adaptations. Firstly, it allowed for more detailed and faithful retellings of the novels, with each season able to cover the intricacies of one book in greater depth. Secondly, the casting issue was resolved by selecting actor Alan Ritchson, who, at 6'2", closely resembles the physicality of Reacher from the novels. Ritchson's height and muscular build gave him the kind of commanding presence fans had long desired,